हरे कृष्णा। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So we welcome you back to the second day of this course, the self-evaluation tools on the path of bhakti, part 2. So in part 1 we completed the first 2 chapters almost, and we are going to start from chapter 3 onwards. But before that we have a small portion left, and I apologize for yesterday. I took the whole session almost recapping the part 1. So we couldn't make much headway into the subsequent portions. So we had been discussing on the second chapter, which is titled Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha and Bhajana Kriya, and especially in that we had been discussing about the 6 stages of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, the Utsahamayi, Ganatarala, Vyuda Vikalpa, Vishaya Sangara, Niyama Kshama and Tarangarangini. So these 6 stages of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya we had been discussing about, and we were seeing that how for each of these stages association of devotees is the only way to overcome this unsteady devotional service. This is the theme that we were discussing, and and yesterday also we discussed on the same matter, and we saw how association helps one overcome the stages of the first stage of Utsahamayi, then Ghanatarala and Vyuda Vikalpa, how mature guidance helps, we saw that. And then subsequently, we also saw in little more detail how at the stage of Vishaya Sangara, devotees association helps. Kurutvam Putkaran Avati Sayata Tvam Manayita, we saw from Raghunath Das Goswami. Gale badva hanyeham iti bakabid vartmapagane kurutvam futkaran avatiyata avatisayata manayita. Like that he says that whenever you are troubled by these highway robbers of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion and pride, being bound by the ropes of wicked deeds which have been inspired by these 6, then you call out for the policemen who are Vaishnavas. Bakabid Vartmapagane. And we discussed in great detail that how by staying in association of Vaishnavas, it helps one not succumb to these pushes of these 6 enemies. And then this yesterday we also discussed about the surface impression management formula. How if you manage the surface impressions nicely, how if you ensure that the constant sensory signals that you are getting are all Krishna conscious impressions, which means if your senses are constantly attached to Krishna conscious activities, then it will not accumulate non-Krishna conscious signals, so your mind will not go and dwell on it. So the immediate problem is not mechanical devotional service, but the immediate problem is those small pockets where we actually allow our senses to come in touch with sense gratificatory objects, sense objects. That is the main issue, because we already have significant attachment to these sense objects. Our mind will naturally go and dwell on them, even though it may be 1 hour, half an hour a day where we want to give our mind some relaxation. So the easiest way of overcoming it is give it all Krishna conscious engagement, and within that the mind will seek some pockets where it likes some element of Krishna consciousness more. Rather than we may do really tough hard work Krishna consciousness for 16 hours and 2 hours just relax the mind by giving it some non-Krishna conscious activity, then the mind will go and sit on that non-Krishna conscious activity. Rather, identify activities in Krishna consciousness which you really like, and those 2 hours engage the mind in those, engage the senses in those activities, so that mind will go and relish those activities. We saw that the nature of mind is to always make the best use of the bad bargain. So if you give it, as we saw that even in hell, one does not want to give up his body, because the mind finds out some source of enjoyment even in hell. So if this is the case, Krishna conscious activities are not hellish activities. Krishna calls Krishna conscious activities as susukam kartum avyayam. It is so pleasant to perform. But for the conditioned soul, it may not be as pleasant, but it is not as disgusting as the activities in the hell also. It is pleasurable. So if we somehow force the senses to always engage in Krishna conscious activities, then the mind will find out pleasurable activities within the opportunity that you give it. So this was the theme that we discussed, and for this, association of devotees is really important, because at least in the association of devotees, we will always try to engage in Krishna conscious activities. So therefore, to overcome this stage of Vishaya Sangara and Niyamakshama, of course, the association of devotees is extremely vital. And then finally we discussed about Taranga Rangini and how to overcome this desire for name, fame, glorification, prestige. The best way is to always serve exalted devotees. Sadatvam sevasva prabudayita samanta matulam yata tam nishkasya tvaritam ihatam veshayati saha. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says that if you continuously continue to serve very exalted devotees, then and put them always, put yourself always subservient to the order of those exalted devotees, then that will keep us grounded. It will not let us succumb to the desire for fame, name, glorification like that. Actually, this is a very, in one of the books, Amnaya Sutra, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains actually four kinds of obstacles or anarthas. These 4 anarthas are Asat Trishna, Hridaya Daurbalyam, Tattva Vibrama and Aparad. What are these 4? Asat Trishna means a thirst for temporary material things. This is an obstacle. We will see the types in these 4 types. Each one of these 4 has 4 types, 4 subsets. Then Hridaya Daurbalyam means weakness of heart. Tattva Vibrama means not having proper understanding of the spiritual truths. And Aparada means offenses. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that there are 4 kinds of Asat Trishna. One is desire for material objects. The second is desire for heavenly comforts. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi. Bhukti in this material world, Bhukti in this earthly planets, Bhukti in the heavenly planets. Then there is desire for Mukti, liberation, and desire for Siddhi or some mystic powers. So these are the 4 types of Asat Trishna, and these 4 kinds of Asat Trishna act as a obstacle for our progressing in devotional service. The second is Hridaya Daurbalyam. Hridaya Daurbalyam means weakness of heart. When the heart is very weak and malnourished, what are the symptoms of such a malnourished heart? He says envy. When we become envious of others, it indicates it is a symptom. Just like you have certain symptoms of COVID-19. Like you get feverish, sore throat, and some symptoms like pneumonia and things like that. There are various symptoms of COVID-19. Similarly, what are the symptoms of a heart which is malnourished? There are 4 symptoms. One is envy. When we feel envious of others, it is a symptom of malnourishment, spiritual malnourishment. Second is desire for fame. If we are constantly thinking about how I can become famous, how I can catch someone's attention, then that is also a very prominent symptom of a malnourished heart. And the third is deceitfulness or fault finding. We find fault in others, or when there is fault in ourselves, we want to hide it and act in a deceitful way. This is also a symptom of malnourished heart. And the fourth is attachment to objects unrelated to Krishna. We may not be capable of utilizing that object in Krishna's service, but still we are attached to it. So these 4 symptoms are symptoms of a malnourished heart. So this is the second anartha, which is Hridaya Daurbalyam. The third anartha is Tattva Vibhrama. Tattva Vibhrama means incomplete or improper understanding of the spiritual truths. This is also of 4 types, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. One is Swatattva Vibhrama, Paratattva Vibhrama, Bhakti Tattva Vibhrama, and Bhakti Pratikula Vastu Tattva Vibhrama. 4 types. Swatattva Vibhrama means improper understanding of one's own identity. Jivera Swaruphoy Krishnera Nityadas. One may not properly understand this truth. Or one may still be identifying with the body. Or one may be still identifying with the mind. Or one may not be completely convinced that he is the servant of Krishna. So this is all Swatattva Vibhrama. The second is Paratattva Vibhrama, meaning incomplete understanding of the Krishna Tattva. Who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What are the symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And all those things. The third is Bhakti Tattva Vibhrama, not understanding the real science of Bhakti through books like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where it is so systematically presented. One may not necessarily understand the essential conclusions of the truth about Bhakti. So this is Bhakti Tattva Vibhrama. And the fourth type is called as Bhakti Pratikula Vastu Tattva Vibhrama, unable to identify what are the things which are not favorable for one's practice of Bhakti. So these are the 4 types of Tattva Vibhrama. And the 4th type of aparad, the 4th type of anartha or obstacle is aparad or offenses. And there are 4 kinds of offenses. Offenses to the holy name, offenses to the deity form, offenses to the devotees, and offenses to other living entities. So these are the 4 kinds of aparadas. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains very powerful but easy solutions for overcoming these 4 kinds of anarthas. So we are currently discussing about the 6th stage of Tarangarangini, the problem of overcoming the desire for fame, overcoming the desire for prestige, overcoming the desire for adoration, profit, distinction. How do we overcome it? As we saw, this is a symptom of a weak heart, a heart which is malnourished. So, how do we overcome Hridaya Daurbalyam? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the means of overcoming Hridaya Daurbalyam or a weak heart is follow the 4th verse of Nectar of Instruction. What is the 4th verse of Nectar of Instruction? Dadati, Pratigrinnati, Guhyamakyati Prichati, Bhunkte Bojayate Chaiva Shadvidam Priti Lakshanam. So he says that the 6 exchanges with Vaishnavas, give them gifts, accept gifts in return. invite them for prasad and you accept invitation for prasad. And then reveal your mind in confidence and hear from them with empathy, whatever they want to share. So if with these 6 exchanges, the heart becomes nourished with Vaishnava Preeti or affection for Vaishnavas. When the heart becomes nourished by Vaishnava Preeti, then you slowly start seeing that the symptoms of malnourishment in the form of envy, desire for fame, deceitfulness, fault finding, all these symptoms slowly start vanishing. So this is a very profound explanation given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So if we are troubled by a desire for fame, we have to see it as a disease. Rather than seeing it as the more I am becoming famous, rather than equating fame to spiritual progress, we have to see that desire for fame as a disease actually. And the antidote for that disease is a very pleasant process actually. Having these 6 exchanges with Vaishnavas. When we develop very loving relationships with Vaishnavas, when our heart is completely nourished by Vaishnava friendships, then that healthy heart will kick away the symptoms of malnourishment, which is envy, fault finding, deceitfulness and desire for fame. So therefore, the association of Vaishnavas is extremely important. And how you associate it with Vaishnavas? In this way. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that if these 6 exchanges are not there, it is not called as Vaishnava association. So we may be living with 100 Vaishnavas, but it is not called as Satsanga or Vaishnava Sangha if these 6 exchanges are not there even with one Vaishnava. Then we are literally living alone. If while living with 100 Vaishnavas, we don't have these 6 exchanges with even one person, then we are literally living alone, and that kind of a Vaishnava association will not create any positive impact in our heart. That is not called as Sangha. Sangha means Preeti. When there is Preeti Lakshanam, that is called as Sangha. So therefore, we should not underestimate these 6 exchanges with Vaishnavas. I remember a very powerful experience that I had in my life. One of my senior devotees in the Chaupati ashram, he was when we were having brahmachari training, he was our brahmachari trainer. Very sweet devotee. So he was the one who first taught us how to shave our head. In fact, he took us to the river bank which was just close to Govardhan Eco Village, the Vaitarana river. And in that bank, he shaved literally all of us. 27 of us, he single-handedly shaved all of us. The day our brahmachari training was getting over. It was a very pleasant experience. And it so happened that after a month or so, one day he called me to the bathroom and he said, can you please shave my head? And I said, yes, Prabhuji. And then while I was shaving his head, I just made a comment. Because I was feeling little proud that just within a month after I started shaving, I could shave my own head without the help of anyone else. And this devotee had been in the ashram for 10 years, at least, maybe 10, 12 years. And I just wanted to boast a little bit. So I told him, Prabhuji, actually, I can shave my head on my own. Indicating that within a month I learned self-shaving, but you need help even after 12 years of spending time in ashram. So he looked at me with great pity and he said, "You think I can't shave my head on my own?" He said, "Look, the purpose of life is not to become self-sufficient. The purpose of life is to be interdependent and therefore have an opportunity for loving exchanges. I can very well shave my head on my own, but if I take this help from you, it will give me an opportunity to develop some gratitude towards you, and that gratitude will deepen my relationship with you." This was the statement which he made 10 years back, and 10 years down the line, I am still trying to understand the depths of the meaning of this statement that he made. Very powerful statement. I am still trying to understand. And year after year, this statement is making more and more sense to me actually. He said, maybe it is the goal of our farm to become self-sufficient, but the goal of our individual lives is not to become self-sufficient, but to become dependent on Vaishnavas. That is our goal. As a farm, as a community, we want to become self-sufficient. But within the community, the means to become self-sufficient is to become interdependent through loving relationships. And when that powerful loving relationships are there, when that powerful interdependence is there, then as a community, we can grow together and become self-sufficient. Very powerful statement. So, when that kind of Vaishnava Preeti is there, then it helps us overcome this desire for pride, desire for fame. So desire for fame, desire for glorification, this is like intoxication. And intoxication can give us immediate kick. But nourishment through eating food comes gradually. And if we are not patient enough, we may settle for intoxication rather than nourishment. So, and especially in today's day and age, when one can become overnight superstars through the internet, social media, YouTube, all these things, you can, the previous day no one knows you and you post one video, it becomes viral and you can become a superstar. So fame comes very cheaply and very quickly, and it can really get into our head. So therefore, that kind of, if we are not sufficiently nourished by Vaishnava Preeti, then this intoxication will be very difficult to handle. So therefore, it is very, very important that at this stage of Tarangarangini can be overcome. To overcome this Tarangarangini depends on the depth of nourishment that we feel through nourishing Vaishnava association. And that Vaishnava association becomes nourishing by these 6 exchanges. Dadati pratigrinnati guhyamakyati pruchati bhungte bhojayate cheva shadvidam preeti lakshanam. And of the 6 exchanges, the first 2 and the last 2 are actually preliminary exchanges. It lays the foundation. Give some gifts, take some help. We can do some personal help to personal physical service, take our time out to do something. It could be as simple as that. Or if we have an opportunity, we could cook something that the Vaishnava likes and feed him. These are powerful ways of nourishment. And when this happens for a while, then gradually that relationship may come to the stage of where we feel completely comfortable revealing our heart, revealing our struggles, revealing our successes, revealing our deep doubts, our skepticisms, and all to that person in confidence. And when he reveals, we have all the time, all the energy, and all the priority to sit and listen to that person. Actually, that is the most valuable thing to earn in one's life, is that kind of a relationship. When that nourishment happens through such a relationship, then there is no need, one will not feel the need for intoxications in the form of fame, glorification, like that. So therefore, the theme that we are discussing now is that the means to overcome the 6 stages of unsteady devotional service or anishtita bhajana kriya is actually devotees association. And in that we are discussing about the Taranga Rangini, how we go overcome. So I'll quickly go through the other 3 anarthas also. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives very beautiful antidotes or medicines for the other 3 anarthas. He says Asat Trishna. Asat Trishna we saw was desire for temporary material objects like Bhukti, Mukti and Siddhi we saw. Why do we get at these? He says the solution is if you can follow the 2nd verse of Nectar of Instruction carefully. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamcha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. So he says, if we can avoid the 6 items mentioned in the 2nd verse of NOI. If you see, atyahara, overeating or over accumulation, prayasa, over endeavoring for material success, prajalpa, reading newspapers, reading news, talking about various kinds of current affairs and backbiting about other devotees, prajalpa, niyamagraha, being very lax in following the rules of Krishna consciousness, janasanga or associating with non-Krishna conscious people, and laulyam, being greedy for accumulating material things. If we can avoid these 6 things, because these 6 things are the ways by which we develop attraction to impermanent material things. But if we can carefully follow, if we have a plan about how we are going to avoid these 6 enemies of atyahara, prayasa, prajalpo, niyamagraha, janasanga and laulyam, then we can overcome asat trishna. And then the 3rd is tattva vibrama. Tattva vibrama means misunderstanding the spiritual truths. Swatattva vibrama, paratattva vibrama, bhakti tattva vibrama and bhakti pratikula vastu tattva vibrama. How do we overcome this? He says, by surrendering to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra and by maintaining a very strong sense of chastity towards Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Not carefully not looking elsewhere for our nourishment. Not constantly asking Google Acharya, Wikipedia and all these things. These should not be our sources of nourishment. It should be our own, the words of our Guru, Sadhu and Shastras. If we are chaste in this way, then we will not have Tattva Vibrama. We will not be bewildered about the ultimate conclusions of the Shastras. So, the time that we spend with the scriptures and the words of our Guru must be significantly higher than the time we spend asking Google for the answers of life. Rather, we should not ask. Then, the 4th is aparad. Aparad means offenses. The 4 kinds of offenses that we saw: Nama aparad, Vaishnava aparad, DT aparad and offenses to other living entities. So we can overcome this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, by the simple way of following NOI verse number 1. Vacho Vegam. If we can endeavor to control the urge to speak, we can avoid so many offenses. if we can control the wanderings of our mind, which may think about the faults in other devotees and other such things, we can avoid so many offenses. Krodha Vegam, if we can control the urge of anger, so much serious offenses can be avoided. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udaropastha Vegam. So he says that if these 6 urges can be controlled, then it helps you overcome aparad. So 4 obstacles, 4 main obstacles in one's progress, and he says he has given 3 verses in NOI. First verse 1, verse 2 and verse 4. And he says, now that the obstacles are gone, if you want to progress fast, what is the key? He says NOI verse 3. Utsahan nischayat dhairyat tattat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadbid bhaktir prasiddhyati. Follow the principles of enthusiasm, determination, patience. Tattat karma pravartanat, being very diligent in performing the 64 limbs of bhakti. Being sangatyagat, being very diligent to avoid non-devotional association. And sato vritte, trying to follow the Vaishnava Sadachar properly. By these 6 things, our progress becomes very fast. So you see, the actual solution to rapid progress in spiritual life, actually the Rupa Goswami has given in the simple 11 verses of Upadeshamrita. That which we think is fit only to be studied for our Bhakti Shastri exam actually has to be the guiding light in the whole of our spiritual life, nectar of instruction. And especially of all that, we are now focusing on the 4th verse of nectar of instruction and its potency in helping us overcome this very deep-rooted anartha of desire for fame, desire for adoration, pratishta asha. So it is very, very important that we take time out to invest in these 6 exchanges. We should not underestimate these 6 exchanges and think that, oh, it is much, I would rather spend time chanting 6 to 8 rounds extra than sit with some Vaishnava and, roll some chapatis for him. We should not underestimate that. We should not underestimate the potency of these 6 exchanges. One day we will read Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse, very powerful statements he makes. But we don't have time right now, we will have to move on. So, and then what happens in this association is what should we do when we come together? See, for example, these 6 exchanges of which I said the first 4 exchanges, first 2 and the last 2, dadati pratigrinnati guhyamakya and bhungte bhojete cheva. Someone may say, oh, I am staying in the brahmachari ashram. I don't have any financial independence. I cannot buy any gifts on my own and give it to my friend. Or we have fixed people who cook in the kitchen, so I cannot cook anything for others. Of course, it is not so hard and fast. You can always, if you have a desire, that will be facilitated. But nevertheless, even if one may say, let's say for theory, for the purpose of theoretical understanding, then still there is one very powerful way of coming together with Vaishnavas and earning their gratitude. That is given in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. How? Parasparanukathanam pavanam bhagavad yashah mitoratirmitastushtir nivrittirmita atmanah. He says, Parasparanukathanam. Parasparanukathanam means if devotees come together to discuss Krishna Katha. This is a very powerful way of spending time with each other. This is as good as dadati pratigrunnati. You are giving them Krishna Katha, and in return you are taking their attention. You are taking their gratitude. So this exchange also enhances Preeti. How? He says in Bhagavatam 11th canto it is mentioned, is the teachings of Navayogendras to Nimi Maharaj. Parasparanu Katanam. When you come together and discuss what? Pavanam Bhagavadyashaha. The most purifying topics related to Krishna, Krishna's name, form, glorification, pastimes, etc. It creates three effects in the devotees who are involved in that discussion. Mito Rati. Mito Rati means it develops a sense of deep friendship in them. Deep friendship, deep appreciation for each other. And this does not take any money. We don't have to spend even little bit for this. Mito Tushti. Mito Tushti means we will no longer need our smartphones and internet for satisfying us. Tushti means mutual satisfaction. So we will be satisfied in each other's association. We will be looking forward. Just like we look forward to the next time we put our hands in our pocket and pull out that smartphone and then look at our WhatsApp messages, how eagerly we yearn for it. With that same yearning, we will look out for the association of the other person. How? Just by coming together and discussing Krishna Katha. Mito Rati, Mito Tushti, Nivrittir Mita Atmanaha. Nivrittir Mita Atmanaha means, he says that they will mutually become detached from material enjoyment. How? Just by coming together and discussing Krishna Katha. How does this happen? The Acharyas explain. So the two people come together, and then one person reveals to the other person, you know what, actually I am feeling very embarrassed to share this with you, but actually for the last few months I have been struggling with this anartha very badly. The other person says, oh really? Actually 2 years back I had the same problem, and you know what I did? I did this, and now I am free of it. And then this other person hears and he says, oh, you had the same problem, but you could overcome it by following these steps. I will also follow it and I will also overcome. In this way, by sharing their struggles, both get the inspiration and the confidence that actually I can overcome my anarthas in this very lifetime. Otherwise, it will be an individual struggle. If we have to struggle individually, even a small struggle becomes almost impossible to overcome. But if we have wonderful relationships with Vaishnavas, then we don't have to struggle alone. Even the biggest of struggles can be the most pleasurable experience if there is a sense of common struggle. But that sense of common struggle will come only if there is a loving relationship with the Vaishnavas. In that loving relationship, one Vaishnava considers the other person's sorrow to be his own sorrow. And the greater the number of Vaishnavas who think like that, then it is a commonly shared sorrow. Like in a house where there is very loving relationship between the parents and children, when the child becomes little sick, actually if you see, even though physical suffering the child is going through, but he is the most carefree person. He is lying down, listening to some soft music, and everyone around him is panicking. Someone is making some kada, someone is bringing some medicine, someone is cooking some food that might be suitable for him, someone is trying to massage his feet, and this fellow is just lying down and having a nice time. So, in this way, even that kind of sorrow becomes a pleasant thing, and sometimes we may even look forward to such opportunities if that kind of relationship is there. And if that kind of relationship is there, and if the heart is nourished by such relationships, then we will not succumb to the lower taste of desire for fame, glorification, the number of likes, how many people liked my lecture, and so on. So therefore, this is a very important aspect, that the sooner we get out of Anishtita Bhajan, the faster will be our progress. And the only means, or the most powerful means of getting out of this 6 stages of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya is to have loving relationships. And loving relationships have to be earned. They don't come just like that. We have to invest in it. And it is the most worthy investment. We should not think twice before investing. We should immediately invest. This is the most worthy investment, and returns are guaranteed. So this is a very important point. So in this way we come to the end of the second shower of nectar, Dvitiya Amrita Vrishti, and we have had an elaborate discussion on this. So tomorrow we will not have a recap on the second Amrita Vrishti. So now we will start the third shower. We still have about 20 minutes time, and then whatever we can cover, we will try to cover. This third shower is the most important shower in the life of a sadhaka, and the longest shower. This is called as Anartha Nivritti. So while one is progressing from Utsahamayi to Ghanatarala to Vyuda Vikalpa to Vishaya Sangara to Niyamakshama to Tarangarangini to Nishta, what happens in the heart of that devotee? How is he able to make this progress? That is what we are going to discuss now. This process of Anartha Nivritti, destruction of unfavorable desires within the heart, how is it going to happen? That's what we are going to discuss in this chapter. Very important chapter, and we will go slow on this chapter and see how far we can, what we can learn from the teachings of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this very important theme. Because this is the longest stage and most excruciating stage in the life of a sadhaka, therefore we will take little long to cover this portion. Anartha Nivritti. So, we actually saw from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Amnaya Sutra in the previous section 4 kinds of anarthas. There the word anarthas means obstacles. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadambini defines anarthas in a slightly different way. He says anarthas means unwanted desires, which means desires which are unfavorable for our progress in devotional service. This is how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur defines anarthas. And he says anarthas can come from 4 sources: Dushkritotta anartha, Sukritotta anartha, Aparadotta anartha, and Bhaktiotta anartha, he says. Dushkritotta anarthas means anarthas coming from sinful activities. Like many of us may come to Krishna consciousness with different kinds of sinful bad habits. Like drinking, or smoking, or meat eating, or internet addictions, or past illicit relationships. So many different types of past sinful habits and tendencies we may have, and which have given rise to very strong sinful impressions, vasanas. And those vasanas may give rise to sinful desires. Or sinful desires which are desires unfavorable for one's practice of bhakti. So this is dushkritotta anarthas. Second is an interesting type. Some of us may choose not to believe. He says sukritotta anarthas. Anarthas are unwanted desires coming from past pious deeds. Someone may say, what do you mean? Does living a pious life give rise to anarthas? How is it possible? So I'll give you a small example that how even pious inclinations are not necessarily always Krishna conscious inclinations. Once I remember, this was probably year 2010, exactly 10 years back. We had gone, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj had taken us for the South India Yatra. So we went to Kanyakumari, Rameshwaram and Srirangam. So these were the three places where we had Yatra and Katha. So we had already covered Kanyakumari and Rameshwaram, we were in Srirangam. That was my mother's probably second Yatra. Second Yatra she had come. And we come from a Sri Vaishnava background, and Srirangam happens to be her native place. So we were in our grandmother's place. We were visiting our grandmother, and I remember my mother had taken few of her devotee friends with her. And one of the devotee friends, I was standing there with my mother, and one of the devotee friends came running. And she told, Mataji, there is Maharaj's Mahaprasad, or Maharaj's Maha, she told. And my mother asked, what is Maharaj's Maha? And Mataji was shocked. Maharaj's Maha, Maharaj's Mahaprasad. Then my mother told, then she started understanding. You mean leftovers from Maharaj's plate? She said, yes, please take. And my mother said, no thanks, you please have, I can't eat. Because she grew up in a family where to eat someone's remnants is unheard of. It's absolutely, I remember growing up, in my last many years of staying at home, even while I was a child, I don't have any remembrance of my mother or father eating something that the child has left over. Even if the child has left over anything, its only rightful destination is the dustbin. No other person eats it or touches it. So this is the way we grew up. So this is some Sattva-guni samskaras. Of course, I got spoilt after going to the boarding school, but still my mother was. But if you see here, what she rejected something based on her pious upbringing only, but what she rejected happened to be a very powerful means of progress in Krishna consciousness. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bhakta pada duliyara pakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avasheshati namahabal. He says, there are three things which are very powerful in helping one progress in Krishna consciousness. Bhakta pada duli, the foot dust of a Vaishnava. Or bhakta pada jal, and the foot wash of a Vaishnava. Bhakta bhukta avashesha. And the leftovers, the food remnants of a Vaishnava. These three are most potent in helping. Teen Mahabal. He says there is tremendous spiritual potency in these three things. But someone can reject this also, not due to an impious upbringing, but due to a pious upbringing. So therefore, even from a past pious life also, one can get desires which are not very favorable for one's progress in devotional service. This is called as Sukrutotta Anarthas. The third is called as Aparadotta Anarthas. So Aparadotta Anarthas means unwanted desires or unfavorable desires which are born out of committing offenses. The Namaparad, the 10 types of offenses to the holy name, which includes Vaishnava Parad. So sometimes we may see that we are progressing fairly well. We have given up many kinds of unwanted desires, and suddenly after a few years of practice, we see we come in touch with some desire which is so sinful, but we have never had this desire even before coming to Krishna consciousness. So some of us may have such experiences. Prabhu, actually this kind of sinful desire I did not even have even before coming to Krishna consciousness. But now that having come to Krishna consciousness, I know what is sinful activity, what is Krishna conscious activity, but still I am getting such desires. Where is it coming from? There is a good chance that we are probably offending Vaishnavas. And offenses to Vaishnavas can give rise to generation or germination of unknown desires also, desires which are unknown to us. So therefore, these Aparadotta Anarthas are most serious. And the fourth is Bhaktiotta Anarthas. Bhaktiotta Anarthas is nothing but Tarangarangini, what we saw. When we are properly practicing bhakti, when we have overcome the struggle with senses, when we are overcome the inability to keep up our positive Krishna conscious vows, when we are fairly progressing, it attracts the attention of devotees, it attracts the praise of the devotees and glorification of the devotees, and at such point we may get carried away by the glorification and fame that comes. That is called as Bhaktiotta Anarthas. Unfavorable desires born out of proper practice of bhakti. So Srila Vishwanath Jagadhakur writes, Anarthas arising from previous sinful activities or Dushkritotta Anarthas fall in the category of 5 types of kleshas: Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesha and Abhinivesh, we saw. So you commit a sinful activity, it has a sinful vasana, and that sinful vasana gives rise to raga, an attachment to performing that sinful activity, and then it becomes raga abhinivesh, an intense absorption and craving for, yes, I need to do it, and then the person commits that activity. So this is Dushkritotta. Similarly, Sukritotta Anarthas also have the nature of these kind of past impressions from past performance of pious activities. And Aparadotta Anarthas refer to those anarthas which are born out of Namaparad and not Seva Aparad. So there is a very interesting way in which Srila Vishwanath Jagadhakur explains this Namaparad and Seva Aparad. So he says, we may think that, Namaparad means offenses committed to the holy name, and Seva Aparad means offenses committed while performing some services. But he says no, this is not the right understanding of Namaparad and Seva Aparad. He says the word Nama in Namaparad indicates bhakti. So Nam there is the representative of bhakti. So Namaparad means Bhakti Aparad. And Namaparad means offenses which are done due to a malicious intent. And Seva Aparad means offenses which are done inadvertently, by chance. So, with no malicious intent, by mistake. So, he says that the Acharyas have discerned that Seva Aparads do not usually have the effect of being nullified by chanting the name. You do not usually have effect being nullified by chanting the name, by recitation of stotras which have the power to cancel the effect of Seva Aparad, and by constant service. So, the moment one commits an inadvertent mistake, like say for example, someone comes at the last minute and says, Prabhu, I am really sorry, but we have just 3 minutes for Mangalarti and the Pujari didn't come. I see that you are in your Uttariya. Can you please come and do the Mangalarti? And then we may say, yeah, just 3 minutes. And then you rush to the altar, and in that haste, you forget to do your Achaman. And then you start the Aarti, complete it. And at the end you realize, oh, I forgot to do my Achaman. So, what is our attitude? If our attitude is, oh my God, Krishna, please forgive me. I didn't realize, I didn't really intend to do it, but somehow in my haste I did it. So please forgive me for worshipping you in an unclean situation. The moment that repentance is there, that Seva Aparada, that moment only is nipped at the bud. There is no reaction for it. And you don't have to do anything else. Or there could be a second possibility. You forgot to do the Achaman, and at the end of it, you didn't realize that you didn't do Achaman. There is no reaction for it. In Bhakti, it is not taken seriously. If inadvertently, due to some genuine haste or without your having any real intent of committing that sin, not due to carelessness, but due to some genuine reason, you forgot to do it, no offense taken, no problem. There could be a third possibility. The moment you come to know that you forgot to do Achaman, and you think, so what? At the end of every deity worship, I read the Aparada Shodhan mantras, the mantras for nullifying the Aparadas. I will read it. The next moment the Aparad will go away. What is the problem? Why should I feel bad? So if one thinks this way, immediately that Seva Aparad becomes Nama Aparad. And Nama Aparad means serious. To overcome it is extremely difficult. Seva Aparad, no offense taken. If it is inadvertently done, it is Seva Aparad. If that activity, if that offense is done with a malicious intent, with an improper attitude, with a non-devotional attitude, then it becomes Nama Aparad. That Seva Aparad becomes escalated to Nama Aparad, and it becomes a problem. So now we will take one or two more examples. If someone is sleeping during his japa, is it Nama Aparad or Seva Aparad? Someone may say, of course he is committing this Aparad while chanting. It has to be Nama Aparad. Not necessarily. It is quite possible that the devotee had some very critical late night seva, but still he chose to wake up for Mangalarti, and he came for Mangalarti, attended it, did everything nicely, and while sitting for chanting japa, because he has not got sufficient sleep, he might feel drowsy. He may doze away. So just because he dozes, that is not necessarily Nama Aparad. It could be Seva Aparad. It is inadvertent. he really didn't want. The moment someone wakes him up, if he feels, Prabhuji, thank you very much. You disturbed your own japa to wake me up. I'm really sorry. And then he genuinely repents and begs forgiveness to the holy name and tries to rectify. He may stand and chant, or he may walk and chant and try to rectify the offense. That is not considered as namaparad. But the moment someone wakes you up and the person opens his third eye and he wants to burn you to ashes, how dare you? You think I was sleeping? So then that kind of an attitude is definitely namaparad, because not only is he repentant for not attentively chanting, but he is also becoming angry at a Vaishnava who is trying to help him by waking up from his sleepiness. So therefore, however grave that offense may be, if it is inadvertent, performed with a non-malicious heart, the bhakti process is so wonderful that that offense is not taken seriously. There is a famous, not so famous, but there is a story in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the story of King Prishadra. So King Prishadra, when his father retired from being the king, he enthroned the eldest son as the heir apparent, as the next king, which is natural. And Prishadra was not the eldest son, he was younger. So as the younger brother, he decided, I will help my elder brother to execute the kingly duties. How? He said, I will take care of the kingdom's main Goshala. Day and night, 24 hours, he would guard the Goshala without sleeping. So that way he dedicated to serving his brother. And on top of that, Prishadra was a pure devotee of Krishna. One day, it was an Amavasya night. It was pitch dark. And suddenly a tiger attacked one of the cows in the Goshala. And the cow was screaming, and Prishadra, being a Kshatriya, he understood that a tiger was attacking. He rushed in the direction of that sound and he gauged carefully and then used his sword to cut the tiger. Immediately the cry stopped and then there was no problem. But still it was dark, he could not exactly see what had happened, how much damage had been done. Then the morning came, light came, and he saw that instead of cutting the tiger, he killed the cow. He slit the throat of the cow. And in doing that, the ear of the tiger was also cut. So the tiger got scared and it ran away. But what had happened? He had killed a cow. Gohatya. Serious offense. And on top of that, his Kulaguru, I think it's Vasishta. Vasishta comes, he sees that this person has killed a cow. Not understanding the actual situation, he curses him to become a Rakshasa or something like that. So one side he is already repenting for killing a cow, and on top of that his Kulaguru comes and curses him. But it is mentioned that at the end of that episode, that neither did Prishadra get the reaction for killing the cow, nor did that curse act on Prishadra. He went back home, back to God. Why? Because it was an inadvertent mistake. For an inadvertent mistake in the life of a pure devotee is never taken seriously by Krishna. And such inadvertent mistakes in the execution, during the execution of one's devotional duties is called as seva aparad, whereas nama aparad are those mistakes which are performed with a malicious intent, with an inappropriate intent from the practitioner's heart. So we will try to understand little more about these aparadas and the aparadota anarthas tomorrow. So thank you very much for your patient listening, and we'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Shri Madhurya Kadambini ki jai. Hare Krishna.